The Almanac of Naval Ravikant. This is a book that's going to be really hard to make a short review out of because the word to wisdom ratio on this one is sky high. Let's have a closer look at Naval's Guide to Wealth and Happiness. This is a book that brings Benjamin Franklin's famous words to mind. An investment in knowledge pays the best interest. Hi and welcome to the BookLab. I'm Björn and this is the place where we bring you the best book recommendations when it comes to philosophy, psychology, human nature and human potential every week, so make sure to subscribe. Today we're going to take a closer look at the Almanac of Naval Ravikant. The Almanac of Naval Ravikant is a collection of wisdom and insights from entrepreneur and investor Naval Ravikant. When I first saw this book circulating in my social media feeds, I discarded it outright. I thought it was one of those books that businessmen compulsively write in order to soothe their egos. Consequently, I rejected it and ignored it. I was wrong. This is a great compendium of his thoughts on fundamental principles for happiness, wealth creation, decision making, and personal growth. Everything is distilled into practical advice that offers a guide to a more fulfilling and meaningful life. Naval talks a lot about specific knowledge. This is the capabilities that are unique to you. You need to figure out what your specific knowledge is, and one way to do that is to look back to when you were a kid. What did you do effortlessly? Something that you might not even consider a skill. Your specific knowledge is what feels like play to you but look like work to others. It's a combination of traits unique to you. Specific knowledge is found in pursuing your unique talents and genuine curiosity. When you found it, you need to find a profession that fits with your specific knowledge as closely as possible. This is because if you're not 100% into what you're doing, then someone who will outcompete you. If you become really good at something that fits your specific knowledge, you will be able to offer something unique. Which brings me to the second part of the puzzle, authenticity. By imitating others, you are in competition with them. You can escape that competition by being yourself. No one is as good as you at being yourself. Being yourself as much as possible, combined with performing your specific knowledge, puts you in a great position. If your curiosity, aka specific knowledge, takes you to a place where if society eventually wants to go, you will be highly rewarded and well paid for it. You will then likely have a skill that society still doesn't know how to train people to perform. I haven't nailed mapping my specific knowledge to my profession 100% yet, and I still work to do in terms of authenticity, but in my day-to-day work as a video game developer and especially when working with BookLab stuff, I have my specific knowledge pretty well mapped to the tasks that I perform. And the fact is, I don't get exhausted by the tasks that I do. I actually gain energy from doing these things, and that gives me kind of a competitive edge. Wealth is built on compounding. You will not be able to build wealth by working a job, because at a job your output is highly tied to your input, and you often trade time for money. In order to become wealthy, you want to own equity, a part in a business, and you want to build compound interest. You want to make money when you sleep, when you're retired, even when you're on vacation. Luckily for us, the possibilities these days are almost endless when it comes to building passive income. The internet is full of machines that are ready to work night and day for you. But when Naval talks about compounding, he doesn't only talk about compounding capital, he also talks about compounding friendship and learning. Quote, "All the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships or knowledge, come from compound interest. Friendships, reputation and learning also compounds. If you work with someone for a very long time, you have a very high trust most likely, and it's easy to continue to doing business in a simple way. Therefore, you should always focus on long-term relationships and keep investing in them if they work. Reputation also compounds. If you have a reputation for being a high integrity person with good judgment and a good track record, then you are able to earn maybe 1,000-fold more than someone who hasn't been compounding their reputation. Just look at Warren Buffett. No one asks him how much work he does in a day. He makes one decision a year and he's compensated with astronomical sums because of it. This is due to him being able to build his reputation for years and years and years. Of course, one of the parts that I loved about this book is that it talks a lot about reading and learning. A key insight for both learning and work is to choose the difficult option. It means that you don't push problems to the future and that you win long term. because most people take the easy route. This gives you an edge, and this applies to reading as well. Naval argues for learning the fundamentals, to look for the underlying truths and principles that govern things. It's often a challenge to do this, that's why most people don't do it. That's why the best leverage comes from reading the books that most people are not willing to read. When you know the fundamentals like math, physics, microeconomics, game theories, psychology, persuasion, ethics, and computers, then you can adopt easily when society changes. You can then become an expert in any new area of inquiry, even though it's narrow, in just a few months. No book should intimidate you, because you have a deep and broad understanding of the fundamentals. This book prompted me to pick up some fundamental and honestly some books that actually intimidated me that I'm going to read. I started, for instance, with The Wealth of Nations by Adam Smith. This summer has been really good to me. What started off as a really slow reading year is turning into being one of the best ones yet. I'm adding this book to my great book list for three main reasons. One being that it summarizes decades of experience and research. And secondly, it's a short and concise book that is very suitable for rereading. And third, and most importantly, it tackles a lot of aspects of life and gives us practical and useful advice on wealth, health, and happiness. I recommend this book for anyone who is interested in learning fundamental core principles and mental models that are of the highest tier. It's also just a starting point. I actually picked up a lot of books because of this, and it has a whole section just with reading recommendations for spirituality, health, philosophy, and wealth creation, and of course science and math and that stuff. And I've actually already ordered a bunch of books because of this. I've read The Beginning of Infinity by David Deutsch. I've started reading The Wealth of Nations, and I've also started listening to the audiobook of The Rational Optimist. More than that, I've also ordered a bunch of books on physics that I otherwise wouldn't have picked up, one of them being 6 Easy Pieces by Richard Freeman, and this is just a start, right? So all of those books will be reviewed here on the channel, so make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on them. And also, after this, check out my review of The Beginning of Infinity, another 5 out of 5 book. I'm back next week with more book reviews, and until then, happy reading and Björn out.